What's up YouTube, this is Dennis Panuta for tutorialsEU/Android. In this video you are going to learn how to set up your first Android virtual device, which is basically just an Android emulator that you can use on your PC to test your application. So you don't need to connect your Android phone and go to developer settings and activate debugging, even though I recommend that as well. But in this video, we're focusing on how to set up the emulator on your PC. And I would recommend that you hit the like button and subscribe button while you're at it. And let's go and start with the video. In this video, we are going to set up the AVD, which stands for Android Virtual Device, which basically is an emulator that emulates Android on our PC. This then allows us to test our applications directly on the PC without having to connect our phone to it, or maybe you don't even have an Android phone, so you couldn't even test it. So let's go ahead and set up an AVD, and you can see here at the top it says no devices. That's because I have no Android virtual device set up. So let's go to the AVD manager. You can find it either this way, or you can also find it here on the top right hand corner, or well, even under tools, you can find the AVD manager. So many different ways of finding this Android virtual device manager. So here you can set up your Android virtual device. So let's go ahead and create one, and you can then choose between different categories. So if you want to create a virtual device for TV or for the watch or tablet or automotive, you can change the category here. You will find more details here on the right hand side, and you can then select between different options. So what I'm going to do is I will use a Pixel 4 that uses the Play Store. So you can see this little icon here. Let's select this. Okay, you can of course also select Pixel 5, but the problem will be that it will not have the Play Store installed on it. So the beauty would be then that you can also install Play Store applications, but at the same time use Play Store extensions, which we will do at a later point in the course. But you can of course then delete the emulator and just create a new one. That's really very easily done. Okay, so then click next, and here you need to select the system image, which basically just means the Android Studio version. Now let me make the screen a little bigger so you can see everything a little better. So you can see that you can download the different versions, and the one that is allowed to me at this point would be Android 11, which would be the latest version. But I instead want to use an Android 12 version because I want to be able to run it even on Android 12 and just test if it works on new devices very well. So I'm going to go to x86 images here. That's because I run an Intel PC. In your case, you will then have to go to other images and then select an ARM-based emulator. So it really depends on what you're using. If you have an ARM-based PC, I would recommend to go to other images and then download the S version. So Android S with API level 31 with Android 12. In my case, I'm going to do the same for the SX64, including Google APIs. You can also select the one with Google Play, but the Google APIs in my case will be good enough for now. If I ever need to change that, I will just download this and then just install the new Android version. So just to show you, this is how it's going to look like. So the component installer will pop up and it will download the latest Android version, which is another 1.3 gigabytes of storage, which I don't want to use now. Okay, so let's click next, and now we can give it a name. So it says Pixel 4 API 31. I'm going to call this one Android 12 as well. Now you can still change it from here. You can still change the version if you wanted to. Then the startup orientation will be portrait. In my case, I don't want to start in landscape. And you can also show some advanced settings once you click on this button here. And then you can change things such as what the back and front camera should be like. So I'm just going to say that it should emulate the front camera, but you can also use a webcam that you have installed on your PC in order to then use the actual camera of your PC for the Android virtual device. The network speed is something you can set up. So if you wanted to simulate a certain speed, let's say you want to test if your application runs on 3G, you could change that to UMTS or HSDPA. So that's something that you can do from here, but you can also change that later on. as well as some latency and so forth. Quick pause. So you're learning something about Android in this video, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to learn everything that you need to know to become a real Android developer, then definitely check out my Android Masterclass, because in this course you're going to build a bunch of great applications along your journey to becoming an Android developer. First, you're going to learn the Kotlin basics. Then you're going to learn to build one app after another. And while you do that, you get a bunch of demos which will really dig deep into the concepts, as well as presentations which will help you to understand what you're learning. So don't miss out and get the course right now. You can find the link in the description below. So I'm going to select the quick boot, which will make the booting process a little faster. I'm going to say that it should use 4 of my cores. Now you can change that depending on how many cores you have. In my case, I have 10 cores. So I'm just going to say that my Android virtual device should use 4 of those cores. You can also change how much RAM your device should have. I'm just going to say it has 1536 megabytes of RAM, a little bit of heap, and 800 megabytes of storage. Now you can change that as well if you need some more storage for your device. In our case, we're going to create very small applications in terms of their size. So they will have certain functionality which might be extensive, but the programs itself will not be very big. Okay, so that will be pretty much it. So let's click finish, and then you can find this Android virtual devices overview here. So you have one device at this point. You can see it requires 530 megabytes on the disk, but once we start it up, it will require multiple gigabytes. Now you can edit it if you want to make changes to it. You can wipe the data if you have any issues with it, or you can even delete it and create a new one. And you can even have multiple virtual devices at once. So if you want to test it on different devices just to see how it's going to look like on different device sizes and screen sizes, you can create multiple emulators at a time. But I would always recommend to just have one emulator running at once, because otherwise, well, it will require a bunch of RAM and CPU power on your PC. So now let's close this Android Virtual Device Manager, and you can now see here at the top we have the Pixel 4 API 31 Android 12 device selected, and we can now press this Run App button. Let's quickly do that to see if our emulator will pop up and even start our little application. Now in my case, I have installed some anti-cheat software for some video games, and that's what pops up here. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And it also even says that my antivirus program might impact the build performance, which means the performance at which an application is being built and run on a testing device. Okay, so there we are. This is my first app, and you can see it's basically this hello world that we have here. So before we change that hello world application, which we're going to do in the next video, we can see that our app in general works on this virtual device. And by the way, this is an actual Android phone, so to speak, on your PC. So you can just press the home button and you come back to the home screen. And now you can swipe up and you will find all of the apps that are installed on this device by default. So my first app, by the way, is also installed on this app. So let's on this device. So let's click on it, and you can see my first app pops up saying hello world. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Before we go to the next video where we're going to create our first hello world application, let's quickly look at the settings. So if you click on this ... here, you can change the settings. So for example, you can fake a different location. Currently the location is set to Mountain View, Palo Alto, probably there where the Google head offices are, but you can make some more changes to your device. For example, here under cellular, you can change the network type to 4G, 3G, 2G, and so forth. You can change the battery settings. So you can see now it's at 100%. So let's go down to, for example, 50%. You can see here, there it changes based on our settings. So these are little things that you can change. Also, now I'm charging, so you can see the AC charger setting is set up. So there's this little lightning icon there. And the camera, so if you want to use a specific camera, you can set that up here as well. So these were just some things that you can set up. You can of course go through all of the settings here to familiarize yourself with it. By the way, if you want to make your phone louder, you can do that with those buttons here. Or if you want to tilt your device or turn it, you can use those buttons here. Okay, so that's it for this video. See you in the next one, where we're going to set up Hello World.